Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of the podcast. It's been a while. So yeah, it's been probably 2 months? Maybe a little bit longer. I can't remember the last time that I made an episode. Life has been hectic and now it should calm down and I should be able to return to weekly uploads. So as you can tell, I'm in a new space and I've started to move into my new studio, which is really exciting. I'm not fully set up yet, but it's definitely an improvement on a couple weeks ago. It took us a really long time to get this bookshelf that's behind me from my parents' house to here because it's really, really heavy, like way more than you would expect. So we had to get Johnny's brother to help us, and now it's finally filled with yarn. And the space is feeling a lot more organized and less cluttered. Still pretty messy and cluttery, but hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll be able to finally get everything put away and organized and have a nice clean workspace, which I'm really excited about. Alright, it's too warm in here for a scarf at the moment, but yeah, let's start out with a few acquisitions and then we can move on to whips and defoes. So let's see, I haven't gotten a whole lot in the past few weeks, but one of the things that I'm most excited about is this bag. Just look at that. So this is a Jenna Rose handmade bag, and I think she calls it a tote or a bucket tote. So that is something that I have wanted for a really, really long time, and it was kind of always in the back of my mind that I was going to get once I could save up for it. It's so nice and really convenient. I just kind of put all my whips and stuff and bags and books and whatever I'm working on at the moment in that like bucket and take it wherever I'm going, which is so nice to have. So I just kind of drag this from one room to the next wherever I might have some time to work on a few things. So I'm really enjoying that. It's really nice quality. I would love to get a few more in the future, so I highly recommend it. That was an anniversary gift from my now husband a couple months ago, and I love it. It's so nice. It lives up to everything I thought it would be. Another thing that I got just the other day, because I'm working on grading some patterns and specifically sweater patterns, so they're a little bit more complex than I'm used to. So I wanted a little bit of help and some resources. So I've heard good things about this book, so I picked up Amy Herzog's Ultimate Sweater Book, and it didn't have a whole lot that I needed for the specific pattern I wanted help with, but it's a good resource. So it definitely has a lot in it that I will use in the future, I think. So it just has the basic sweater constructions: drop shoulder, raglan, yoke, and set-in sleeves. So I mean, I will definitely use this in the future, and it looks really well put together and well written, at least from the chapter and a half that I've read. So it's more for modifying sweaters to fit your own body. So I think it was written for people who like to knit sweaters but want them to fit and be more customized to what their body shape is. So I believe the book is written for those people who don't really know how to customize patterns to fit them better. So I'll keep you posted if I use this anymore in the future. So the thing I am most excited about that I've recently gotten is a Fiber Artist Supply Co. ball winder and yarn swift. So I can't tell you how amazing this tool is. I've been using a Stanwood ball winder, I think that's what it was, and just like a super cheap plastic yarn swift that I got for like $12 on Amazon. Oh, it was not the best. I mean, the Stanwood ball winder is fine. It's not bad. It's noisy. Anytime I would wind yarn, because usually it would be like a whole sweater's quantity at once, and it was so noisy and loud and rickety, and it started to, like the clamp on the table started to kind of dig into the table and leave a mark. So I really wanted something new. And I'd seen several people post about their new one of these from the Fiber Artist Supply Co. I think Allison from Law Reserve Design had one, and a couple other people that I saw on Instagram had this. And they raved about it and they showed it, and I saw one at a fiber festival in like September or October or something and got to try it out, and it was so smooth and quiet. It's just been on my wish list for a really long time, ever since I saw Allison's, which was like, I want to say spring or summer, and just hearing more and more about it, I really wanted one. But it's a pretty big investment. I think it was like $180 to get this and the Swift plus shipping. I cannot tell you enough good things about it. It is just so smooth and quiet. So it just rests straight on your table and you don't need to clamp it down. And it's just, I cannot tell you how smooth it is. It's so nice. I really, really like it. Yeah, it was worth every penny. If you have the money to invest in your business or in your craft, I highly recommend it. It's amazing. It's so quiet. I love it. And the fact that you don't have to clamp it down, because I just got a brand new desk when moving here and I don't want to, ruin it or put a dent in it or anything like that. So this doesn't have to, and the Swift doesn't have to clamp either, which is really nice. It rests perfectly flat on any surface. So those were a lot of the big things that I've acquired in the past 2 or so months. So you guys probably know, if you've followed me for a while, that I really love Allie at Explorer Knits and Fibers Yarn. It's one of my absolute favorites. She had an update right before Christmas, and I went a little crazy. I think there were 2 separate updates that I went with because I got carjacked in one of them. So the first thing that I really, really wanted in her updates were sock sets. So she had these really, really gorgeous sock sets put together. Here's an example of one of them. I mean, it's just gorgeous. This is the Yuletide Carol and Golden Snitch sock set in Denali sock, so it's an 80/20. And the same thing is, I think this is Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'm not going to remember. Oh, this is Jingle Bells, and this is Red-Nosed Reindeer. This was another sock set, and this is actually a gift from Allie for Christmas because I had tried to get this specific sock set twice, and both times I was carjacked. So I was so disappointed because it was a thing I really, really wanted. And so she sent me one as a gift, and I love it. It's just the most gorgeous colors. And then it goes with that. It's just the perfect Christmas sock set, and I cannot wait to find a good pattern to go with this. I'm kind of treasuring it because I love it so much. You want to find the perfect pattern so that you not waste the yarn, but that you can do it justice. That's kind of what I'm doing, is I am waiting for the right pattern to hit me, and then I'm going to cast these on. And then I really wanted this colorway, but all she had left was her new base, which is an MCN, and this is the Christmas at Hogwarts color, which you can tell that quite a few of these are based off of Harry Potter, and I love that. Definitely doesn't hurt when buying yarn. And then the next 3 are actually DK weight. So those were all sock weight yarns, and these are DK. So they'll probably be hats, because I realized I don't have really any hand knit hats anymore, and none that are made with quality yarn. So this year I decided I was going to splurge, buy a couple skeins, and make some of those patterns that I have in my queue. So these are the 3 colors that I chose. So I know this one is birch bark, this nice gray and white speckly one. I believe this green is pine, and I'm not going to be able to remember this, but I'll put it in the show notes. But these are all her, I believe it's called Rocky's DK base. I'm making a sweater with this same base, and it's amazing. So I know these are going to be perfect for hats. I have some patterns picked out, and hopefully in a couple weeks I'll be able to knit some up before the cold weather is gone. But we haven't really gotten a ton of cold weather yet, so I think we've got plenty of time. So those are what I bought from Ally. And then I also tried a new dyer that I've been following on Instagram for a little while. Her yarn has just always looked so stunning that I've really wanted to try it. And she had this Christmas skein called A Very Vintage Christmas right before Christmas. So I just couldn't resist and got 2 skeins of it. So I got it, one in her Berry Merino, which is 100% superwash merino, fingering weight. Oh, it's a worsted weight. Never mind. And then I also got a skein of this in her sock weight, but I don't know where the cake went, but it's the exact same color. So it's just this really, really gorgeous, speckly Christmas goodness. So I'll probably make either, I don't know what I could make with 218 yards of worsted weight. I definitely thought this was fingering when I bought it. Whoops, my bad. But maybe mittens. Can you make mittens with that many yards? Or a hat? I don't know. I'll definitely make socks out of the fingering weight. And then something fun with that one. So I actually wanted that in her first update around Christmas, but got carjacked again. It's such a big problem. That happens to me all the time. So I went with these 2 skeins the first update because I didn't end up getting that skein. So I got these 2 gorgeous colors that I think go so well together. So this is Honey Butter on her 80/20 base, and this is You Sit on a Throne of Lies, which is an elf reference. It's definitely showing up way more red, like blood red, than it is in person. It's a little bit more like a little bit richer and darker and not as bright as I'm seeing it on the screen. But I really want to make a colorwork pair of socks with these 2 and create a new design. I've really been craving a new sock pattern. Alright, so the last acquisition I think I have is actually a review. So I don't think I've really done a whole lot of this on my channel so far, but Anastasia of Garden Wool and Dye Company reached out to me on Instagram only a few days ago and said that she had found my podcast and was really enjoying it and wondered if I would like to review her yarn on here. I was really excited about that because I, took a look in her shop and she's got all these gorgeous colors, and she has this base, which is a Cormo base. And I've heard amazing things about Cormo, but never had the opportunity to try it. So I was really interested in trying that. So she sent me 1 big skein for Cormo, and this is the colorway Lavender Fields, and it's a 100% Cormo wool from Minnesota, fingering weight, and it's a 79-gram skein, which has 400 yards, and it's dyed with alkanet and logwood, which, I'll be honest, I have no idea what those are, but it creates a very gorgeous color. So she's all about natural dyeing, and that's something that I have not really used a whole lot of. So it's definitely really interesting to me, and I have mad respect for yarn dyers in general because I'm horrible with color. So the fact that they can come up with such gorgeous colorways is amazing to me. But the fact that they can use things around their house or things they find in the garden or in the woods is so impressive. I don't have a clue how they figured that out, but it's a real art form and I really enjoy it. So here's this gorgeous skein of Cormo, and here's what the ply looks like, if you can see that. It's pretty bouncy looking. So it definitely feels bouncy. I don't know if that's a common term or normal term, but it just feels like, I don't know, it feels pretty light and springy. So I have plans for this. I have a pattern picked out. I think it's the Treehouse Mitts by Melody Hoffman. It's a sport weight pattern, but I bet you I could kind of figure out how to modify it enough to work with fingering weight. She also sent me some minis to show off her other colorways and her other bases. So look at those really beautiful and fun colors. I feel like this is kind of making me want to dive into spring because of this. Look at that. Let's see if I can figure out which is which. She sent me a sheet that says them all and these minis. So she said she's throwing in 2 small Cormo minis. So I'm gonna look for that texture, which I'm guessing are these 2 because they have the same texture. I don't know if you can tell that, but they look the same. They've got that kind of, it looks like a 2-ply, it might be a 3-ply, but it just has that look that 2-ply yarns have where it's kind of not loose, but springy is how I would describe it. So it's dyed with indigo, which I'm guessing is this one. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce this, but Quebracho. So I think that's the pink one. And then she sent 3 of her new merino base in fingering, dyed with coffee and madder root. I've heard madder root from a couple other natural dyers, so that must be a common thing. And then the DK weight, which I'm guessing is this one, dyed with Quebracho, which is a like perfect bubblegum pink. And it's so squishy. I mean, it's just so soft. And then the worsted weight mini, which is dyed with logwood. So this almost looks like a mix between these 2. But it's just the most squishy, cozy bundle of yarn. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe try and incorporate a little bit of these 2 colors in with the big one and make a pair of mittens or something like that. But I've definitely been craving a pair of mittens. I don't have any, and every time I go outside in the cold, my hands freeze. So I'm going to try a pair. Probably starting out with the Treehouse Mitts by Melody Hoffman. I think that's where I'll start. And I think there's enough yards, 400 yards. I think hers say only needs about 200 and something yards, but we'll see. So this is my initial review that this yarn is just so cozy, and the Cormo has this like springy, bouncy texture. I'm really interested to see how it knits up, and even more interested to see how it blocks out, because I feel like a lot of times when yarn has that kind of bounce or springiness to it, when you wet block it, it blooms and it kind of fills in the gaps. And so I'll be interested to see how that works. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll probably start on these this week and let you know in the next podcast how that's going. And then with these minis, this is her new merino base, which I was very tempted to choose when she offered to send me a skein. And I will definitely be buying some of this in the future. It's really soft and cozy. It's not a 2 or 3 ply, which is what this is. It's not as bouncy looking as this. It's definitely a little bit fuller, but I really like that. I like this one especially, the coffee and madder root. So I could see making a hat or something out of this in the future. I mean, buying a big skein, you can't probably make anything out of this. I couldn't make an adult-sized hat out of this, but maybe a baby hat or some baby mitts for friends. Lots of my friends are pregnant, so bring on all the baby gifts. So probably a pair of baby mitts or baby hat, and then in the future I will definitely be getting a skein of this for something. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. I was so honored that she wanted me to review it. I love that idea. So she's very into the kind of ethically sourced and local and kind of green aspect of the wool industry. So in this little pamphlet thing that she gave me, it tells kind of where they got started, how they got into dyeing, like the origin story, which started when they went to Scotland as newlyweds, her and her husband. And on the front it says, naturally dyed, responsibly sourced. So it's something that she obviously really cares about. So this yarn, which are a few of the minis that she sent me, is called New Merino, and it's called that because it's certified to be sustainable. So it says that New Merino is a wool where the wool supply can be traced and tracked back to the exact farm from which it was produced. It also says that their farms are managed in a sustainable and holistic manner and that all animals have high standards of care. So the New Merino base specifically can be traced back to whatever farm it came from, which is really interesting, and I know that a lot of people really care about that. So she's really big on sustainability, and the little piece of paper that she wrote her note on to me says, "Plant this in your garden, keep it moist, watch it grow." So I know a lot of people will probably be really, really into that. And then one thing, which I've seen her mention a couple times on her Instagram, is something called crocking. So that is where when you're knitting with a yarn, your hands kind of turn the color of the dye. So like my hands might get a little bit pink with this. And she says that's totally normal. So it's just a little bit of dye that's kind of bleeding onto your hands. She says that your skin has a specific, I think, pH balance that kind of brings out the dye in the wool a little bit. It won't always do that, but because of the way that she sustainably dyes and washes her wool, it may do that a little bit more because it's not washed as many times as some people do, and it's dyed with natural ingredients, and naturally dyed wool has a tendency to bleed more than like your, was it chemically based acid dyes? I don't know, but you know what I mean. So it has a tendency to bleed a little bit more than like your other kinds of indie dyed yarn. She says this is totally normal, and it's because she only, I believe on her Instagram, she says she only rinses her yarn once so that she doesn't waste water, and that it will wash off your hands after you're knitting it very easily, so it's nothing to worry about. And it comes off on your skin, but it shouldn't come off on your clothes. So if you see that happen with her yarn, you're fine. It shouldn't bleed onto your clothes. It'll probably just do that a little bit as you're working with it the first time, and then you'll probably be good after you wash it once or twice. That was a long segment of acquisitions, but I really loved that review section. So it'd be fun to kind of do that in the future and tell you about some new indie dyers that I'm finding, or about some people that I have already worked with that I really enjoy. So yeah, I don't have a ton of WIPs and FOs to share with you, so kind of filled up the space more with that review section. But now I think we're good to go into WIPs. I'm making quite the mess in my new studio by vlogcasting. So this is my first one, and you have probably seen it on my Instagram if you follow me. I've been posting it quite a lot in the past week or so, trying to get test knitters. So I was finally able to, thankfully, and it is off to my many testers, and it should be out to you guys in the beginning of March. So this is my new sweater. The camera kind of blows it out, but this is what it looks like, and it's got colorwork around the yoke, which is these really interesting triangles within triangles, and then it also has that same effect in the sleeve. I'm not quite done with the sample, it hasn't been blocked, so that's why the colorwork looks a little bit puckery, but it should block out really nicely, and at least that's what I'm hoping. I've never done 3-color colorwork, which is what this is. The pattern's written for 3-color and 2-color, so if you're not up to the patient task of knitting with 3 colors, which I totally understand, then you can knit it with 2 colors as well. I'm really hoping that it blocks out. I think it will. It's not that puckered, and I did really long floats in the back, so it should be good. I'm just over worried with it now because I'm nearly finished with it, and so it would suck to have the yoke not work out. I just have one more sleeve to go, and then I can block it and see if it's safe, or if I need to do some sweater surgery and fix the yoke. But this will be out, I think, March 2nd or sometime in the very beginning of March, which I'm really excited about. I used Allie of Explore Knits and Fibers Rocky's DK. So, I don't know the names of the yarn off the top of my head, but I'll put them in the show notes for sure. And we'll be doing kits when the pattern drops. So this is one of the kit options, and then there are a couple more options that we figured out. So I can't tell you how excited I am. I've had this idea since late spring, early summer at least, and it's finally coming to fruition and the pattern's written. All there's left to do is testing. It's been edited. There should be no major problems with it, and then it'll be out to you guys. So I'm really excited about that one. And then on a more selfish knitting note, this is the Little Twig Sweater by Melody Hoffman. Not super far, but for some reason this has taken me a while. I don't know what it is. It's just plain stockinette, and in worsted weight too, but it's taking me a while. So I got this yarn from Spud and Chloe, which is a yarn company, through collaboration with Love Knitting. So Love Knitting reached out to me to ask if I would try their new yarn, and so I am. It's a cotton wool blend, so it should have pretty nice drape, I'm guessing. So here's the yarn. It's called Spud and Chloe Sweater. And this is the colorway, I believe it's chocolate. 55% superwash wool and 45% organic cotton in a worsted weight. So yeah, that should be really exciting. I've loved Melody Hoffman's Little Twig Sweater. I think ever since she put it out, it's super interesting. It's got that really nice yoke design. And yeah, I'm interested to see how that works. Knitting yoke sweaters from the bottom up is not my favorite construction, I'll be honest. I prefer to work them top down, but that's okay. It should be a really cozy and comfy sweater. This yarn is really soft and squishy. It's like sweatshirt material. I don't know. It's very, very soft. I can see how I will be probably living in this a lot when it's finished. But I probably won't put a whole lot of work on that this next week because of a new whip I started. This is a pattern by Joji Locatelli. It's the Barkline Shawl, and this is all I have so far. You can see it's really gorgeous. It's kind of blowing out on the camera, but it's this really rich blue. You can see there's some twisted ribbing happening here and some garter. So I started it this morning, so I'm not very far, but this is the start of it. This is a better color representation. It's this really deep blue with flecks of lighter blue in it. This was one of my Knit Crate yarns that I was sent. I don't remember the month, but it's Vita Lana by Knit Crate, and it's the colorway Night in their Dream Base, which is 329 yards of a sport weight. I did not know that. I thought it was fingering weight. Oh well, I matched gauge, I think, so it should work out. But there's way less yards than I thought there were too. I did not think this through. I definitely thought it was a fingering weight with 450 yards. This pattern takes more than 630 yards, so I'll probably have to modify that as I go. I don't really know what I'll do, but we'll figure it out. So it's a 70% superwash merino wool, 20% silk, and 10% cashmere. So it's really gorgeous. You can probably imagine how it feels with the silk and cashmere content. And the drape, I blocked a swatch and it just folds right over. So nice and drapey that I know this is going to be a gorgeous shawl. So this is for my mom. I did not really get around to having time before Christmas to knit her anything. So I felt bad, and I've been saving this yarn for her to make her something since I got it months and months ago. So I originally thought that I wanted to make her a cardigan, and I do. I definitely do someday, but I don't have enough yards in this yarn to do that. So it's been sitting in a box, labeled as something for her. And I was watching the Grocery Girls podcast last night, actually, and I think it was Tracy made the bark-lined shawl in this gorgeous color, and I saw that and I was like, oh, that's it. That has to go with the yarn for my mom. She will absolutely love it, and it's something cozy that she can wear because she's so sensitive to wool, but with the cashmere and silk, you can't even tell. It's so soft. She should have no problem with this. So yeah, I'm loving it. I started this morning and I've made this much progress, so it's definitely a fast so far and easy knit. So far it's just garter and then twisted rib, which I've never really done a whole lot of twisted rib, but it's gorgeous. I definitely want to incorporate this in future designs. I know she does a lot and now I totally get it. So I'm hoping to have this done in about a week and a half. I know that this was fast progress because there's so few stitches at the moment, and it will get a lot larger and start taking a lot more time per row, but I really want to gift this to her soon because I'm still working my way through the backlog of Christmas gifts. The wedding really threw me off. I'm really behind, but I figure as long as it's still cold out when they get gifts, it's okay. They got gifts, just not hand knit gifts. That was all my whips, so I only have a couple FOs. It's been slow going here. I don't know what has been happening. I feel like I had way more that I was finishing, but I don't know what happened to them. Like I feel like I should have a stack of things to share. I think I've just been doing a lot of computer work, and I've been so busy with like life events and big changes that I haven't had a whole lot of time to do a lot of physical knitting. I've done a lot of computer work and like pattern writing and the math, but not a whole lot of knitting until recently. So it's really nice to be back doing that. All right, so this is one of my FOs. It's a glimmer sock, which is one of my sock patterns, and I gifted my mother-in-law one of these socks on Christmas, and I had the toe left on the other one. That's all I had, but I didn't have time to finish it. So I gifted her one sock, and I was like, I will get you the other one really soon. 2 weeks later, here we are. It's been done since like 2 days after Christmas, or 2 days after I gifted it to her, but I just haven't remembered to bring it or have Johnny bring it when he goes to work. But it's done now, and this is what it looks like. This is also Knit Crate yarn, but I'm not going to be able to remember the name. It's definitely like 100% Highland wool. I made her socks out of that yarn. Well, one, because purple seemed like something that she would enjoy, and also because she is not at all sensitive to wool. Like, she can wear really scratchy things up against her neck and it doesn't bother her, which blows my mind because I'm also really sensitive. I obviously take after my mom. So you can kind of see that it's a like marled yarn. There's dark purple and light purple, kind of more of a pink mixed in there. So I'm going to gift these to her on Sunday, finally, or at least the second one. My hope with them was that with a little bit of a harder wearing wool, that they'll last longer, and because she's not sensitive, that they should still be warm and cozy. So that's my hope with these anyway. And then I have another pair of glimmer socks. Let me just get the other one on the sock blocker. And in case anyone's wondering, these sock blockers are from a woman in Norway. I'll have them linked in the show notes as always, but you can find her as Knitography on Instagram, I think. Here is my second pair of glimmer socks, which again is one of my knitting patterns. So here's this one. It's in the Loma colorway in the classic sock base from Autumn and Indigo, which I've used her yarns a couple of times and I absolutely love them. They make amazing socks, and I'm definitely going to make a sweater with them in the future. I have a whole sweater's quantity in there and so many more things. She will become a staple of my knitting future. So yeah, just another pair of glimmer socks. I love this pattern. I love rib socks because they just cling to your feet better, and I made a nice tall cuff for myself, which I typically don't have the patience to do. You'll notice the ones I made for my mother-in-law were probably about half as tall, but I really wanted a pair that I can wear with my Birkenstocks when it starts to get a little bit warmer, and these will go great with them. So I'm not ready for the warmer weather yet, but this does make me a little bit excited. So yeah, one more pair of those, finished and done. It's a really simple pattern. I love ribbing because you can just kind of go through it and fly through it and not really have to think about it, especially once you get to the foot, because it's ribbing on one needle and stockinette on the other, so it just flies. So those are my 2 recently finished FOs, but I have one more. I'm so glad to have this one done. It needs blocked again. I blocked the front and back panels before starting the sleeves. And yeah, so this is the Donegal sweater by Moira Engel, and this is it. It is quite the sweater. It's for my brother-in-law. It was a Christmas gift, but again, I was really behind. So I finished this a few days after we did our Christmas with Johnny's family, and I'm so glad to have this over with. It looks good. I think it looks good, but it was a pain in the ass to knit. I mean, it's just so many cables, and my brother-in-law is like a tall, like built guy, so I had to make a pretty large sweater, as you can probably see. Each panel took a really long time. It's definitely a labor of love. So there's like this middle section, and then there's other cabling here on the side. And then it's stockinette for little portions on the edges. One of the things I really didn't like about the pattern is that it's knit in pieces. Sometimes I know that knitting in pieces is good because it adds more structure, and maybe that was the point, but I think seaming in the sleeves is hard. I mean, I hope that there's kind of a bump on every time there's a curve. I don't know if you can see that bump, but anytime like it would come down and jut over, and so trying to seam the sleeve into that, it lined up perfectly, but there's just a little bit of a ridge, and I don't like that. So I'm hoping when it actually sits on his shoulders naturally that it won't do that. He hasn't tried it on, so I hope so. I need to block it. I blocked the front panels, but I haven't blocked the sleeves or the collar, and the collar just isn't sitting right without blocking. And it smells a little bit woolly, so I want to get a little bit of that out of there with some wool wash. Overall, I think it's a pretty good pattern. That's not fair. It's a good pattern. I just think it's a little bit too limited. I find that sometimes when I follow patterns, I think I got it off of Interweave.com. I found it on Ravelry, but you could only buy it off of Interweave. And I have found sometimes with their patterns that they're too basic, like they don't have enough instructions. So they assume that you know what you're doing way too much. I'd say I'm a pretty advanced knitter, and there were parts that I was like, I have no idea what that means. And when it came to the collar especially, I have no idea what the collar is supposed to look like. I looked at some photos. I don't think it's supposed to look quite like that, but I know that's a common style, so I just went with that, and I didn't really follow the instructions because they were too confusing. And then also working the, I guess the V here in the front panel was really confusing because it doesn't quite mirror. I mean, it kind of mirrors, but not as perfectly as I would like it to. I don't know. Maybe that's my error, or just the fault that the pattern's not explained enough. I don't really know. It was just a little bit hard to follow on the top of the front panel, like this part, and the collar, and that's about it. The seaming wasn't hard, it just ends up with some bumps that I hope go away with blocking and you don't notice when you're actually wearing it. I need to block it and gift it to him on Sunday, so I will let you guys know how that goes if it fits. It looks huge, like it looks super long, but he's also really tall, so I hope it works. Yeah. Anyway, that is my last FO, and I don't think I'll be doing a whole lot of this kind of cabling because it's not really normal cabling. It's twisted rib lines, which look really cool, and then you also go around and you do these, which are wrapping the yarn around 3 stitches and then keep going, which was an interesting technique. I'm glad that I learned it. It's not hard. It sounds hard, but it's not at all. But it just took so long. I mean, maybe if it had been my size and I finished it, I would have been like, okay, that was enjoyable. But this was like, knitting for men is a lot of work. Their clothing is so much more, so much larger than ours. It's a good pattern. It just took way too long. And for the sleeves, I definitely worked them in the round. So I worked them from the cuff up. And then when it came to the cap shaping, I started working back and forth because you're binding off underneath the arm. But I started off in the round. I was like, I am not seaming these closed. I don't like seaming sleeves. I don't know about you, but I'm not a big fan of it. I feel like I'm missing things because I should have more to share after a couple months, but that's it. So that transitions pretty perfectly into the part where I chat about my life, if you are interested in that. Otherwise, if you're just here for the knitting, have a great day. I'll see you next episode. If not, it's been an insane couple of months. I feel like Johnny and I are just now starting to get a breath of fresh air and being able to just relax. Getting married around the holidays is so busy. We were busy from like getting engaged in October, and then engagement period and planning a wedding in 2 months, and then we got married on the 9th of December, then our honeymoon, and then work stuff and parties and family events, and it's the holidays, so there are things going on all the time. So we were hosting and we were going places, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. And I feel like this week I've been like, how is it January? So overwhelmed. I've taken a look at my to-do list, and it's a lot. And that's one of the reasons that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not doing as many collaborations this year, because as much as I love them and I feel so honored that people would, let me make stuff with their yarn, but it also can stress me out when I have a lot going on. So at the moment, I think I have 6 or 7 collaborations going on, and that's too many. And I did it to myself. I definitely did it to myself. I booked myself to have a really, really busy fall, and I was already going to be really packed. And then when we got engaged, it was like, I don't have time for all of this. I have no time to work on both. So it's kind of a tug of war of wedding and work, and I did not have a whole lot of time to do work, and so I'm trying to get caught up, and I am. I've got 4 patterns coming out in the next 2 months, which is nice, and a 5th one hopefully coming soon. And then once I get the current sweater I'm working on now, another sweater I need to start for a company, and an upcoming shawl design. Those are the 3 that are not in testing yet, that I have to finish. And then I'm clear of collaborations. And they've been so fun. I've really enjoyed them. Not at all saying collaborations are bad. I feel very honored to have been able to do them. But I'm very excited to take all of my ideas from my notebook and be all right, I have time to just dig in my stash and get into these. I really want to explore hat patterns, and I've got this really interesting cowl scarf design that's been in my head for a couple months, and mittens. I really want to try mittens and socks. I really want to do accessories next before winter's over. So that just has me very motivated to try diving into my stash. And so yeah, I'm very, very excited for the patterns that are coming out. I think that they are some of the best yet. And I don't know if you've seen all of them, but they're very exciting. I will probably do videos for each of them separately so that you can see them before they come out. So I've got 2 shawls and 2 sweaters, and then another sweater going into testing in a couple weeks. It's exciting. It's really gonna be a fun year. I'm really excited about it, but it's definitely been a hectic few months. Me and Johnny were we were gone a few days ago. We were up in Grand Rapids, Michigan for a business trip because Johnny had some work up there, so I went with him, and we came home and we've got a date night tonight, and we're like, you just want to have a chill date night in tonight? We're both like, yeah, just gonna want to totally laze about and not do anything. That's kind of what we're very excited about. Is next week is the first week pretty much since we got engaged that there's not like an event. It's just a normal week. We can jump into a routine. We can cook dinner. I'm very excited about that. I want to put together my studio a little bit more. It's very cluttery and I want it to be cleaner. It's kind of in the back of my mind, like every time I walk in here I'm like, it adds stress, you know? So I want to like get that set up. Like I have a IKEA utility cart that we got for our registry that was extra that I'm gonna set up and put stuff in, and that'll be fun. It just kind of getting it set up is really exciting. And I haven't had a studio space like this. I had kind of one at my parents' house, but it was like half my bedroom, half my studio. So I never worked in there other than filming videos. So it should be really nice to have my desk and everything all organized and clean. So I'm gonna try and do that this week. Life is returning to normal. Or the new normal, I guess, with married life. But being married is better than I could have imagined. I thought it was going to be amazing, and it has surpassed that for both of us. We're just so happy to finally be married. And running a household together is really fun. Cooking, planning out meals, as like mundane and routine as that stuff might sound, it's really nice. It's really, really nice. So I love having a home cooked meal now. Like we lived off of like takeout and cereal and like really sugary, crappy cereal, which I love, but it's not a good meal. It's like a dessert the past week, and like we've just gone out for food, and so we're both so ready to go grocery shopping tomorrow and have our meals planned for next week. That was kind of a long-winded update. This is definitely a longer video, but I felt like it was a proper catch-up for the past couple months. Once I get my studio set up, maybe I'll do a studio like tour. It's really not big, it's just kind of a small room, but it might be fun. So maybe like a Q&A studio tour episode or something like that. Let me know if you're interested. My camera battery keeps running out, so I'm just gonna say bye. I'll see you next Friday. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're interested in more of this, like and subscribe. I'm planning on doing a lot more tutorials, so keep an eye out for those. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next episode.